What's going on, guys, and welcome back. I hope you're having a phenomenal week. Today is going to be real down and dirty with the assets and liabilities. It's not anything too in depth. Uh, it's nothing that most of us already know anyway, and this is just going to be a little refresher. So if you guys could do me a favor and just like, comment, subscribe, let me know how it is, and let me know what else you guys want to see. Let me know if I sucked. But without any further ado, let's get educated. So the first thing we need to know is what is an asset and what is a liability, right? So an asset, most of you already know, is anything that is going to make you money in the long run. It's something that's going to produce a positive economic value. What do I mean by that? That means it can be learning new skills, investing in properties, anything that's going to, you put money down now, and as time goes on, you are going to see that money grow. Um, and there are a few different types of assets. They come in different forms. There's five, or I'm sorry, six: current, fixed, tangible, intangible, operating, and non-operating. Now, I'm not going to get too far in depth in those, just because it is very, very complex when you start to break it down that way. Just think of it in terms of, let's say you buy a factory, and that factory is obviously going to continue to make you some money. You have employees, you have a product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say 6 months from now, your profit has doubled. So that asset, that factory, is a tangible, operating, fixed asset. Now, obviously, those three things, they make a lot of sense when I say it like that. In terms of a building, it's an operating factory, it's a tangible building, and it's a fixed position. So obviously, those things mean that it's an asset, and it fits into those three categories. Now, a good rule of thumb when it comes to assets is you just need to remember that it increases your net worth. It doesn't decrease your net worth. So if you buy something and you owe a debt on it, that is actually a liability. So a lot of people here, they actually think that owning a vehicle, even if you're a business owner, if it's not registered under your business name as a business vehicle, it is a liability. Now, it's easy to get it registered under a business name. All you have to do is, you get a form, you fill out said form, you send in said form, boom, you're done. Now, we can get into that a little bit later. That's down and dirty on a whole nother level. But assets are resources that your company owns. It's something that will make you money in the long term. And I feel like that's enough on assets, right? So let's just get into liabilities. Liabilities, that's anything that is, instead of making you money, you actually owe money. So that car that we were talking about that's not in your business name, if you can't tax write off your car, then it is not an asset. It is a liability. That means you are paying your personal funds to pay for this thing. It's not going to make you any money back. It's only going to depreciate over time. Buying a house, a lot of people will tell you that that's an asset. It's not an asset. If you're not using that house for business purposes, if you don't have a home office in that house, if you don't are not subsidizing parts of that house for the business, then it is not an asset. It's a liability because you owe on a mortgage. So if that helps people at any point, just realize that if you owe money on something, it is a liability. Now, I'm not saying that you take money out of the bank and you put that into real estate and that becomes a liability. The loan is not a liability because of the fact that you put it into an asset. You guys see where I'm going with this? If you take your liabilities, you can actually turn your liabilities into assets. I mean, it does take a little finagling and a little finesse, but it can be done. That's why I always recommend that especially if you have a business where you drive, you need to have your vehicle registered under your business name. That's a tax write-off, people. I'm telling you, these are the things that they don't want you to know, and I'm gonna bring them to you. So back into it, liabilities. That includes loans, accounts payable, mortgages, and anything like that, bonds, anything where you owe money, where you personally owe money to a company, a person, a business, whatever the thing is that you owe money to, the entity that you owe money to, that becomes a liability. Now, this is what I was just talking about. A vehicle is a liability unless it is referred as a company vehicle. Obviously, you can go and do your research and finding out the form name and number, and then all you have to do is fill out that form and you send that information in, and then boom, it becomes a taxable or a tax write-offable, even though that's not a word, um, uh, asset, because now it's being used to make money. Now, there's three different kinds of liabilities. There's current, non-current, and contingent. Now, once again, I'm not going to get into these too deep because it will break all of us down. But just think of it like this: a current liability is something that is going to affect you currently, right now, right here. A non current liability, you could probably think of that in terms of I'm trying to think of something that would be easy to reference. Can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but think of non current as something that, let's say, you put down money for a house and then you don't have to make your first payment somehow, some way for the next month, right? That would be a non-current liability just in that monthly period because it's not something that you have to pay immediately. And then there's contingent. This one is the one that most people don't even realize how detrimental it can be. A contingent would mean that X has to happen for Y to happen. So what does that mean? That means if I want to buy X item, that means Y is going to happen. So that means it is contingent, me buying this is contingent on whatever Y is. So if that means that to buy said product, I have to go into, this ridiculous interest rate or, vice versa or anything like that, that's what you can consider a contingent. It's just, everything is contingent on X, simple as that. Now, a liability isn't necessarily bad, people. Like I was saying, you can always flip and finesse and finagle. Those are the F's, baby. I tell my wife that all the time. If they don't, the three F's rule. If they don't feed or finance, then it's not that important. But I'm telling you, this is not a bad thing. Liability is not necessarily bad. You can use a loan from a bank, which would be considered a liability if you were to buy, let's say, a house or a car or something like that, a Birkin bag. But let's say you pull $10,000 out of the bank on a loan and you invest that money in a property. You have just turned your liability, that loan, into an asset, that property. Because we all know that property is always going to be a steady, continually rising asset because people always need places to live. It's just a fact. Um, and, with that, liabilities are what your company owes. I mean, it's really that simple. It really boils down to assets are what your company owns, and liabilities are what your company owes. So if you just remember those two facts, you will always be good to go with assets and liabilities. And with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really, really enjoy doing stuff like this and teaching, just financial literacy because it's something that we all can take part in and all build better futures for ourselves, just one step at a time. So guys, just like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how it is. Let me know what else you guys want to see, and we will keep it rolling. So have fun, stay safe, wear a seatbelt.